Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining the One on One Sports Show. It's your boy Shawnee,
I'm Dante.
and we had a pretty, interesting last, I guess, week span in sports. Going on. Of course, you got the Super Bowl, and that's being broken down. It's currently like Radio Row right now this week for the media,
Yep.
and while they was doing that, you had some big breaking news. You had the breaking trade with Kyrie going from Brooklyn to Dallas. Of course, you had the big news last night, which we're going to save to the end, with LeBron breaking the scoring record. And I was thinking it was one more big story that happened all in a week span. Well, I don't know if it was a big story, but it's interesting. The whole thing that's going on with the Memphis Grizzlies and in particular John Morant with his boys somehow, causing some a little bit of ruckus up there in Indiana. So yeah, we wanna let's I guess let's talk about that one first. Let's talk about that one first because I read about it. He was with them, and I didn't see any highlights of the game. But like, did they kind of get like physical or like tempers flared up during the game, and it kind of carried over to like I guess what ended up happening. One of his boys was shining a laser towards the Indiana basketball team, but if it's a laser,
Yeah.
they can blow it up and say it was a gun.
That's exactly what they did. They said it was a gun. It was like the security was just like no doubt it was a gun. And since it was a security personnel, that's somebody that would know things, not just like a random
Hmm.
Joe Blow. So, but my biggest issue with them is don't turn yourself from a good story, likable guys. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Cool. They don't like Draymond Green either. He got 4 rings to show for it, and probably a Hall of Fame spot. Well, not probably, but a Hall of Fame spot. Put in the work and make them hate you for the winning, not for the antics. It's all too much at one time. From Dylan Brooks, which he's already not liked, with Dylan Brooks getting into it with Donovan Mitchell on national television. So you got him getting into it. The whole aesthetic of him being the guy. What was it? We talked about it a few weeks ago. Getting into it with Shannon Sharp, getting
Hmm.
into it. That fight and things. And it's just like, and then this incident here. I did not get to see that game, but what sucks about it is, what are we talking about right now? We are talking about the laser point incident. I didn't even get to catch that one on League Pass because I was doing something else, and I like to see John Moran. And for a personal vendetta of mine, and just something that I get tired of hearing about. I get tired of hearing of, this is off subject, but I get tired of hearing of all the great players around the world. Like if you look at it, a lot of the top players in the world, like I think you're gonna see it again. You might see 3 All NBA guys on the first team world, at least the first and second team, some of the top spots, because Embiid is gonna be the center, Jokic is gonna be the other center, and then you're gonna have Luka. He's gonna be a mainstay, and then you're gonna have Giannis. So that's 3 on the first team, and then 1 on the second. And we're not even going into Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So, which is he's Canadian. So we need some of our guys that's like highly talented through the prep and the AU system. We need these guys to go on and be stars. Jai is supposed to be one of the ones. And I know we call Anthony Davis street clothes, but Zion is another guy that's played. I mean, right around half or less than half of his games. Those are guys
Hmm.
that we need. We don't need you, Jai, talking about this. And the one thing I want to get off my chest about the situation is one thing, and you got to be strong, more mentally tough to deal with life. And one thing is the main thing people are going to is like, Jai, you're not even from, such and such background. You're not even from this. They're showing that picture with his mother and his father and his sister and him sitting in the chair with with his legs crossed, and they're showing that like, man, this guy's trying to be tough, and he's hanging out with a bad crowd. I've even heard of them trying to make the Allen Iverson comparison, which is just like, nah, the kid's just making bad decisions. Allen Iverson was really from that kind of place, and it was a
Hmm.
whole, like he had been in stuff in trouble before he went to school, and that was high school, so he was labeled with that. The thing with Ja, I think is just some bad decisions he may be making, and then the toughness and wanting to be tough and wanting to be, you know, looked at it a certain way. But I do think the way sometimes we penalize guys for is like, okay, bro, you grew up stable, so I'm gonna make fun of you. That's the most idiotic thing in black culture that we do. And now,
Yeah.
and like people keep showing the clip of, and the clip may be funny, but it's not really, it doesn't hit like they wanted to. They keep playing the clip from 8 Mile. They keep playing the clip from 8 Mile where he was, the last battle where they were going, and they putting John Morant's name in it and showing his real name and stuff, and it's just kind of like, okay, we get it,
Oh,
y'all,
you talking
but
about what was it, Papa
Papa
Doc?
Doc, yes, when he Papa Doc, Anthony Mackie, yes, that deal. They keep playing that, and it's just like, y'all do realize y'all are part of the problem when you grow up in that, and it's just like, okay, he grew up in the state, but you keep criticizing a person of living like this, so they're going to, they by and far, even if subconsciously or consciously, they're going to act out. That's where I say you got to be mentally tough to be like, look, bro, I got a X amount extension on the line, or I already have it. I got my new Nike shoe just came out. Why am I letting my partner point laser pointers into the van of the other team? Why the hell am I doing that? Like
Yeah, I
that's
think
like,
they turned it up a notch from last year. Because last
yeah,
year they was just a young team that did a lot of talking, but talking is, especially if you come from a sports background, talking isn't a big thing. They was talking, but a lot of times they was backing it up on the court. So that's why last year I guess people they had no issues with last year. Now they started off hot. They started off hot, and then they've been kind of, now the season and the ups and downs of the season has been getting them. I remember they had like I don't know how long. I know they had a losing streak for one, maybe like 3 or 4 games, something like that. Then, like you said, they had the Shannon Sharp incident, and now I was listening to it. It looks like um, Dylan Brooks. You can throw it. You sure? Dylan Brooks they was making notes about how his defense has actually went down from a year ago, and a lot of the people that he's been guarding this year been having more success in scoring against him. So in turn, it looks like that he he's been I guess since he can't stop nobody, he almost kind of been making his name more like a more dirtier player. That's how his name, because that comment that Donovan Mitchell had after the game on him, basically talking about they kind of been going back and forth with each other, but he said he always been busting his ass or something like that.
he hit him with
So
the
he
Westbrook.
been getting at him for a while, and so now, and I don't really know, but his rep is starting to veer towards that. Okay, dude, you kind of you doing too much. You kind of veering towards his dirty side.
Yeah, and that's dangerous. I mean, you can still make it in the league. What's the name fights it even in retirement? I know he's in media now. Bruce Bowen. Every time he's on with Bomani, they talk about some of his plays. He's like, man, it's not really dirty. I'm just pushing it to the limit. But I just checked it because another thing is they was like, we're worried about some of the measuring up some of the teams in the East. We're not worried about the West. We're fine. Since that he said that, I want to say they are 2-8 because I just counted the wins, and I want to say the losses started. It started with the Lakers. It started with that Laker game, and then that's when they lost the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight. They lost 5 straight, and then they beat Indiana, and then they lost 1, 2. Then they lost the last 3. Then they beat the Bulls, and so it was just like, hey man, y'all are getting kind of cocky, and that's one of the things that they may need. They may need. They may need a better veteran presence. Either they need a better veteran presence, or they just need to learn, or it could be eventually it's gonna fall on the coach. You're not gonna get rid of
They
him.
they do have one veteran presence with Steven Adams, but he's not vocal like that.
Yeah,
I think a perfect player who would have been, if he would have been younger and been on this team, was Zach Randolph. I think he would have been a
yeah,
perfect leader for them if he was younger and on this team. And he'd be like, hey, I can play. There's no problem if you want to talk, as long as you go back it up. But once he start seeing you kind of going to getting carried away with it, and it's showing up on the court,
Hmm.
that's when the vet be like, okay,
Yeah,
because
we
I
got
believe they have a young head coach too, so it's
yeah.
like they
They have
young everywhere.
a young everywhere, and I want to say the one I did find directly funny because I love the show. They were like the grit and grind Grizzlies, current Grizzlies, and it was the episode for The Wire where Weebay's son that came to visit him. And like Weebay's son was the new Grizzlies, and Weebay was the grit and grind Grizzlies. And I was like, look, like that's a good one, bro. I was like, for the people that love the show, that's a hell of a reference.
So let me see, and I know I was actually looking right before the show. I was just taking a little glance at the Sixers Celtics game that's going on right now. So now that, cause basically how my mind works, basically my sports attention just it flows through the seasons. So when it's football season, football pretty much have my attention. Um, Baseball season, baseball has my attention, and then of course now that football is almost over, now basketball is having my attention. But with the I can't really. It seems like almost basketball is almost starting to be like baseball when they started to make it real. Well, I guess if I don't have NBA League Pass, but I do notice, like as far as the national games, like they kind of showing the same team a lot of time. But I guess if your team not winning, they're not going to show it. Cause I remember they used to show my Rockets a lot on TV. Well, they had more opportunities. I had more opportunities to watch them on national broadcast because they was winning. Of course, they're not doing anything right now because they're not winning. And with baseball, they just screwed their national TV systems up so much. I never knew a national televised game could still get blacked out on cable. If it was like a national televised game, like on a TNT or something like that, it will still get blacked out. They screwed that up so bad. NBA is not as bad. I guess it's my team is not winning, so they say if you're not winning, don't even bother. We're not even bother gonna put them on TV. They just get Lakers get so much games, Boston gets so much games. It was really pissing me off last year when the Lakers kept getting national
Yeah,
televised games and they
they
wasn't winning.
they
I
wasn't
was
winning.
like,
It's
come
like
on,
the
man.
schedule is set. I think they need to kind of make it a little bit more flexible. Like, yeah, your big dogs got to get seen. But I want to say the good thing I do like about the NBA is I know NBA more than NBA and Major League Baseball, the markets matter more. Whereas with
Yeah,
football, the Green Bay Packers are one of the most popular teams in a non-populated area. I mean, you could add in Milwaukee, and which is like a medium-sized city or medium to large city. But with 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 the NBA, you're going to see a lot of Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're going to see Giannis. So you're going to see the Bucks. You're going to see Dallas. You're going to see Luca. You're going to see a lot of guys because they got the international guys. You're going to see Phoenix a lot because they've been winning. And then they have the whole East Coast West Coast issue, which if you've noticed since LeBron has been in LA, they make sure that they have up the start. I've been a long time Laker fan, so I'm used to all right 9:30 tip. That East Coast game might end a little late. This game might start at about 9:45. Because I remember when I used to watch with my pops, older guy, he was gonna be, hey man, tell me what happened in the morning. He was gone,
hmm
and that's what happens. A lot of people don't watch, but when you got the biggest star in the league, they move the times up. They have as many Saturday night games where time wise it works for the West Coast. And then of course they love to have them on those East Coast games, that first game of that doubleheader. But I don't know, man. I as having league pass, I catch a lot of the Laker ones. I try to catch as many as I can on the national because I like to have a beat of what's going. Because I'm a stickler for when they say All Star break the halfway point. I'm like, no, the halfway point is in January. If you're not
yeah,
paying
yeah.
attention to what's going on, you won't know. And it's just like basically for me, Christmas is when it really pops off, and you start to pay attention. Guys are getting in shape or in shape now, and so just looking at it, the West is a jumbled mess. The West is an absolute mess, and it could come to the teams like the Lakers and others benefit. But the West is absolutely chaotic. It's not as strong as it usually is. The East is really strong, and with the trade that happened on Sunday, I was literally helping my mom move, and my brother was just like, "Man," I saw him in the group text. He was like, Mavs got Kyrie, and I was like, damn. And when you come in, all the stuff leaks out. Man, Josiah was not going to trade him to LA. It was one of those
Mm-mm.
deals where they needed him to be like, this is the only team that I want to go to. Now I've heard rumors of Lakers gonna sign him in off season, and like I saw you post about so many people in Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex are skeptical on Kyrie. Some love it. Like the reactions are everywhere. Like I told a guy, he was just like, he's so worried about Kyrie not being reliable. He was like, do nothing. And I was just like, do nothing. And I told him, do nothing means gets bounced. When you have a superstar and you went to the Western Conference Finals, if you get bounced in the second round, but you build a competitive team, you lose in a tough 7 game series, maybe it's a loss like with KD with the shoe on the line. I'm sure a star can take that. But if you just, okay, we let Jalen Brunson walk, we never replaced him, and we brought in Christian Wood and JaVale McGee, yay. That's not that's not really gonna cut it. And I know the Mavericks, they gave up a first round pick, a second round pick,
A first round, 2 second.
just two
Um,
seconds.
um,
Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith,
mhm.
who is it's a wing league, and they got a wing that offensively nothing but corner threes, nothing but open threes or corner threes specifically, but he is going to defend, and that's something that you need, especially around Kevin Durant. So I feel like the Nets, no matter people like, and the Nets want to trade. If you give up the worst player, what's going on, Mr. Bennett?
So, man,
If you give up the best player, you lost the trade. That's the rule. And I want to say, I don't want to make it too personal about my team, but just go back and look at the trades and see what the teams got in return. One team gets the star, the other team gets the other players. And normally the team with the star normally wins.
yeah, yeah, you can say that, but with Kyrie, it's just different because, like, you hear it all the time. The dude missed over 40% of his games with Brooklyn, and they only have one playoff series win during his whole 3.5 years he was with them. So I guess yeah, in the talent wise, yeah, you lost a better player, but as far as the benefit on your team, I don't pretty much there was no benefit. Like, and I'll speak on it more after I talk about the trade. But I think that whole Brooklyn Nets experiment from the time Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving made the decision to go to Brooklyn, really KD, and that's probably the worst NBA experiment that I've seen in history. It just fell apart. But as far as a trade, I think because I was washing my car during the when I got the news, so I just had the radio playing while I was washing the car, so I was hearing the local broadcast, covering it. And man, I was when you brought up the post I put on the internet over the week that they they matter of fact, I just see
Yes,
breaking
yes,
news.
yes,
I guess he's coming back. So, but we'll get
yeah,
to that one though. Matter of fact, I'll let you get to that when we get to this over your team.
man.
But with the Kyrie trade, when they was talking about it, you can hear it like they was just so tentative. They knew the talent that Kyrie was bringing to the Mavericks, but the unknown was just so you could just hear it. They was like, yeah, it was like a watered down celebration. We got Kyrie. Yes, we gave up some key pieces, but that move was made to show Luca that hey, we have no problem being aggressive to try to bring you somebody else who can help you out. In many cases, somebody who's pretty much your equal with Kyrie as far as skill to skill. And and then they was also talking about though. I know some people was worrying about if the Mavericks are taking too much of a gamble with Kyrie because you don't know if he's going to be there next year or not. They're saying it's actually a win-win for the Mavericks. If it don't work out this year and Kyrie goes somewhere else, it's not going to hurt Dallas at all. The money they don't owe him no money. They can just go back. They cleared up space from the contracts and whatnot they traded away with Dinwiddie and Finney Smith. So they can go and be rather aggressive during the off season, because they're like, okay, it didn't work. We didn't lose anything. We tried bringing a marquee player to us. If it works and he stays, great. If it don't work and he leaves, okay. I mean, it's not gonna hurt us. So they basically, they have the room to. They have like wiggle room. If it fails, we can live with it. If it works, hey, that's great. And then they're hoping that Jason Kidd, because Kyrie looks up to Kidd, so they hope he can. If anybody can work with Kyrie, it's Kidd. Now I know they kind of say the same thing over there in Brooklyn because you had your best friend on the team,
But
but
it's
I guess
different because it's somebody in an authority position as
exactly
coach.
because they didn't
And
really respect authority over there in Brooklyn.
can we let the elephant in the room for those of y'all that are not in the Metroplex? Hey man, the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex is a good place. Definitely it's a nice place to live. But I think because of the Mavericks, the city of Dallas is a city that has a nice black population. There are things to do. It's a nightlife. It's stuff for NBA age players to want to do. But having Luca and Dirk, like they don't know that side. So when you go on recruiting trips, yeah, it's one thing to have who is it that they signed getting guys? Chandler Parsons, yeah, but the NBA is what 80%, 85% black. Hey man, where the spots where the women at? So it was getting DeAndre Jordan, like he may have known because he's a Cowboys fan. He's from Houston, so he's probably been here. But leaving LA, just the story. We locked him up in a room and all of that. But Nico Harrison, and I will say, gets big props on this too. Another player that he respects. He was the former executive at Nike that was really close to people like Kobe and
Hmm.
others, really high level people. And the thing is, locally, people were like, Nico Harrison. Even I was like, when I heard the moves and how basketball works, I was like, okay, it can work. Because like if you know anything about the world of like AAU and how people know connections, that stuff means a lot. But to hear Nico Harrison, it was rumored that insiders were like, how the Mavericks pull that off? People have wanted him to come in the front office for years. But they pulled it off to where you have black general manager. I mean, Finley's still there in the front office. So you got Finley, Nico Harrison, and Kidd as a hierarchy. And then you got Luka. So like, yeah, you got the international flavor, but you got those guys. You got the Finney Smiths of the world, but adding a Kyrie, that's next level. And if he goes to LA or whatever because he just wants to, he loves it. But there's a chance that, from what I heard on the tea leaves, and I don't know what's right and what's wrong, wherever Kyrie went, he wanted that max extension.
Yeah.
So, so
And
and the Mavericks,
And rightfully so,
yeah,
Brooklyn didn't want to give him that. So in turn, I guess, and whatever they offered him, you know, that was the main thing. One of the things that Kyrie, when he talking about, he felt disrespected. I'm
yeah.
like, dude, if I was Brooklyn, I probably would have did the same thing. We can't trust you, doc.
Now you can't just let the little bit of play go, and then I know some other people I saw, and I realized why some of their reactions were the way it was, and it was behind the incident that we covered on the show, about the anti-Semitic stuff. And like I saw one person, I was like, okay, I know his background, I can understand him feeling that way, but it's just like, but it's like I didn't go into all the comments, but it looked like some people may have crossed the line in their comments because people do that. But I'm like, hey, the dude is a talented basketball player. And I was like I told y'all the whole time, like you just like you playing at your check, he was just like, shoot, I got 200 million coming my way. He did what he needed to do. He two things. He became an all-star starter, and the Mavericks are the only team with two all-star starters on the same team. They're gonna be lethal. Now, defensively, they're gonna have to do one of those teams. It's like, hey, can we find a stop? They're gonna somebody that I always thought that you could use in a trade. They never did. They're gonna have to lean on Maxi Kleber. He's the perfect this era, wing that can switch, play some defense. But you just can't. The Mavericks will put him at center too much, and they will get exposed. Rebounding wise, it's gonna be rough on them. They're gonna have to lean on Christian Wood when he gets healthy, fully healthy. But I like the move. I was pissed at first. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of expletives that I said. I was
But you were
mad.
trying to get him to go to the Lakers.
Oh yeah.
But
That's
Sai,
been
like I said, Sai didn't want. He didn't want.
nah.
He didn't want to trade him to the Lakers. He basically didn't really want to, because basically there's no secret. The relationship between Irving and Joe Tsai, it just got tarnished over the years, especially after that whole anti-Semitic episode that they was just blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
So I think now, I think Brooklyn and I was listening to First Take this morning, and what's his name? The older dude who come on Wednesdays, Mad Dog,
Man,
Chris
you talking
Russo.
about Mad Chris Russo?
Yeah, he's from that New York market, and he was talking about the fan base in Brooklyn. They was they was like they understand how talented Kyrie is, but they are so excited that the dude is gone.
Yeah.
They was just gone. I'm like that because he never played, and you brought all this, and this is unbelievable. At one time, this team had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. I mean, you just never seen offensive talent. We thought the offensive talent in Golden State was high when they got Durant. Brooklyn's was higher.
Brooklyn
It
was
just
high.
lasts in a blink of an eye. So nobody,
Yeah.
after a blink of an eye, they rarely played with each other. Which was, I'm like, I think they played less than 20 games with each other.
I'm gonna say the number was
And
like between 15 to
oh,
17
it
or
was
something like
terrible,
that.
man. It was terrible. And then I guess that whole vaccination thing and Harden, because nobody knew Kyrie asked, availability because of vaccination. That kind of frustrated Harden. So you're like, hey, man, he didn't want to force his way out because he didn't like the attention they brought when he left. He did that in Houston, but he was kind of do it under the radar, forcing himself out until ultimately they traded for Ben Simmons, which I thought Ben Simmons can help defensively. You don't have to worry about scoring. You got two bona fide scorers. That so far has turned into a bust.
He's. I think
I'm
he.
like, man,
I
that's
think
that organization
he's.
screwed.
I think he's a lost cause. And what makes it suck on them on another level, Brooklyn might be a spot to move to because of obviously gentrification, but building the arena there and all the high pricey, neighborhoods and stuff, the places to be, and it might be a place to move to, but New Yorkers are talking and they're talking with their eyeballs. They are not watching the Nets. The Nets base is still from Jersey. So they're not national, they get on games, but locally their ratings aren't
Yeah,
aren't really strong, and then you got this backfire like this. This is good, and then you traded away your pick, so they're trying to basically win to keep KD and kind of so your picks won't be so good. They are in a spot that we thought it was bad when they traded all those picks to the Celtics. I want to say they will after this have had the two worst eras of trading and mismanaging their franchise, and it's so bad it's making it look like what they're doing in LA. It's making it look like it's a little stove fire, a little fire in your kitchen because they are. This is one of those California just grass fires or Texas grass fires where it's just hot. Somebody dropped a cigarette with some kerosene
and
and
that
some
cigarette, the team that dropped the cigarette, it looked like it was the Rockets. They the
man.
ones who look like who about to come out good on this
Yeah,
trade because
that,
they got a boatload for the Harden deal. And the
yeah.
worst of Brooklyn, they say, oh, y'all go ahead and trade everybody. We just take your high draft pick. So they
And,
just
and
sitting there just rubbing their hands.
and it looks like I'm not sure how it worked out with all the picks that was traded for the Oklahoma City has. So between Oklahoma City and the Rockets, that's damn near probably like a fourth of the league's picks when you look at it. But I don't know, man. If I was the Nets, I saw the report Nets and KD talking about where they stand because I think it's no clue. I don't know if they made that offer for Kyrie like they did, but I think that Suns trade talk that was what about DeAndre Ayton, and it makes no surprise to me that the other night last night he just dropped 35 and 15, shooting 75+%. Who he joined both Charles Barkley and Amari Stoudemire is the only Suns player to do that. I don't think that's any coincidence. Like it's one of them come get me games. Like, you
Hmm.
remember when Earl Thomas did that? Like, come
Hmm.
get me, and we all know how that played out. But I don't know because he is eligible to be traded past in this whole year. December he was eligible to be traded, but he gets veto power because of the way it was set up with the restricted free agency. So I would say, hey, where do you want to go? Because it's not working over there in Phoenix either. It's not working. Chris, obviously, when you sign that guy to that big deal towards the end, that's going to go small guard. Devin Booker's been hurt. But if they can get some pieces to turn it around, they still have a chance to be a team that can compete. The only team that's really, I'll say, head and shoulders above everyone, aside from the defending champs, at any time they could get healthy and just be like, we running. But one thing that's killing them is turnovers. I'll say it's the Nuggets. The only thing with the Nuggets is I wonder is how great do you have to play to win 3 straight MVPs when you can make an argument that other people could have won the other 2. And it's one of those deals where this is what angers me about the MVP. This is the first time that they are at the top of the West. The other time they were near the bottom, but he was playing so great. And it's just kind of like we get to change the rules depending on who is it. Like I know for a while it was tough. It was tough for Kobe to even get a vote. And I know Harden felt like it was tough for him to get the votes because
it used to
what
be
he
the
was
best
felt
player on
about.
the best team.
Yeah.
And then now it's more stats based. That changed during the Harden when Westbrook won it.
When Westbrook
And
won
Harden made a comment about that because Harden was on a better team because the season before when Curry won it, Harden had
nasty
better
numbers.
total stats. But they said no, Curry was on a better team. He's the best player. Then when Harden was on a better team at the best player, then Westbrook had the average triple double. He
Yeah.
won it. So that's
And
when I
it
said,
was the
okay, now
Durant
y'all changing
sympathy.
it.
The Durant
Yeah,
sympathy. Yeah, you can make an argument that in his prime, James Harden could have had 3 MVPs. And I know we're gonna get into this later, but I'm gonna mention it now. Sometimes you gotta appreciate guys that are great and how what they're doing and with it being special. I can admit myself as being a Laker fan and being put on by my dad telling me how great Magic was. That's how I drew to Kobe, especially when like he came out in like 96. I want to say my brother hit high school in like 97. So I was like, damn, you was just, to me, it was like, you was just a year of going to school with my brother. And now you playing in the league. That blew my mind. It blew my mind that these guys are that young and coming. And like, so I drew to him, I drew to Shaq. But like seeing him and following him as my favorite player, of course, there was the Kobe LeBron thing. And at a certain point, it was just kind of like, I gave it, like when they had the commercials and all that, and I was just like, I'm gonna get this up because I remember when LeBron was in high school, and it was just like I remember the slam cover with him and Sebastian Telfair, which I'm still sad about how his career did not pan out. I just convinced he was gonna be a Hall of Famer, but at least a multiple time All Star type of guy. Like giving that up and enjoying players, and I know we're talking about LeBron later, but I also put it on Harden. I know his style, and a great player can change his style. When they changed the foul rules, he changed his style, and he's still effective. The way he, as a 2 guard, has so many assists. I mean, he's a guy that can control the game, and he's not as great as he was at his peak. But he was a really special player, and the one thing I would say is be dangerous when Harden is like upset about not being an All-Star. It's like, okay, it's like I really want to see how they come out and do. I really want to see those. I think both playoffs are going to be interesting for different reasons. I think that West playing is going to be ridiculous. You're looking at maybe an OKC with all that talent, with their young talent. You're going to have the Lakers, different teams. And I, I wish I could fast forward to next year sometimes. I know we say that's a lot in basketball. I want to see what Shea Gilgeous-Alexander looks like with Chet Holmgren. And
mm-hmm.
they got shooters. So they got shooters and they got another. They got a bunch of picks. So they can move up, move back, do whatever, trade for a vet. They have a lot they can bring to the table. And like seeing them, win last night and seeing them when we went to saw them, I was like, this team got a little something. They not
Yeah,
just
they just
they're not
young.
just sitting around waiting.
Mm-hmm.
They got something. And then what's the name is he's more of a throwback. Like I didn't realize how many threes Shea Gilgeous does not take. He is going to the rim. He's averaging like
Yeah,
16
he don't
points a
have to take
game
threes
going
the
to the
way
rim.
Isaiah Joe was making them threes. He was making
Man,
them in the Dallas game too when we went to go see him. Like,
man,
he,
I almost woke my son up cussing about them damn threes, man. I try not to curse, man, because I don't want them to. My daughter be picking it. She pick up any curse word I say. She pick it up fast, and I'll be like, dang. But yeah, man, like they're a
what?
team that's on the rise, man. They coming. They coming. I want to say the Pelicans, if they can find a way to keep Zion healthy,
Yeah, that's their biggest
they
thing.
coming. That's their Achilles heel, man. That's their
Was
thing. But
since we was talking about OKC and they're playing the Lakers, I'm just gonna set this up on the platter. And for those that for y'all that don't know now, about 15 minutes ago, some breaking news that came through, and it involved three-team trade. And the three teams involved are the Lakers, the Timberwolves, and the Jazz. So from the Lakers, they traded. Well, they finalized a deal to trade Russell Westbrook. Who are the players from the Lakers? Juan Toscano Anderson and Damian Jones. Well, basically, the Lakers are receiving Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, and Jared Vanderbilt. And then you have the Jazz. They are going to be receiving Russell Westbrook, Juan Toscano Anderson, and Damian Jones, while the Timberwolves are going to receive Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So it's a whole three-team deal. I thought the Lakers found something with Westbrook coming off the bench, but
they did. You want me to be honest about it? They have found something with Westbrook coming off the bench. They did. But here's how it goes. Say, for instance, there's another trade. The only tradable contracts that you had were Lonnie Walker, the fourth, Lonnie Walker from former Spur, Patrick Beverly, expiring contract. Both of those are expiring. And Russell, his contract is expiring. The other contracts like Juan Toscano Anderson, we see why he was at the end of the bench with the Warriors. That's his role. He can come in sometimes. And then Damian Jones, he's also a 1-year deal. That's contract filler, to make the money work. But the reason why it would have been dangerous to trade them and keep Russ at his role, come playoff time, they're gonna sit back and let him play. When there's less fast break and it's more, hey, how's your offense gonna roll? How are you running pick and roll? How are you running sets? They're gonna back up off of Russ. They're basically gonna play a zone. They're gonna, which I hate playing zones, but they're gonna play a zone, sag back off of him, and he doesn't have enough discipline to not take it enough time. Like, okay, the first one, you go ahead and take it. The second one, okay, you pump fake, you go, you dribble, you move on, you swing. Nah, he's gonna shoot it enough times, and it's like I've seen games where the game is winning in overtime, and you can say, "Man, Russ kept him in the game." Russ shot him out of the game too. Don't you have to tell both sides? And it's like I know a lot of people were like, "Y'all are being too mean to Russ," and I was like,
he had some key
"Did y'all not
turnovers
watch the
last
game?
night.
Did you see the ones like LeBron would have broke the record in the second, not the second quarter, but early in the third quarter? Some of the passes, it was just like Russ threw it, and I was just like, and I said it, I was like, no disrespect, but I need this to. If he stays on this team, like if this tree doesn't go through and he stays on this team past the All-Star break, I'm not gonna really watch a lot of games because it's gonna be a repeat of last year, which is gonna be like a Groundhog Day and a whole bunch of fake comebacks, whole bunch of games where it's just like the energy is bad, it's not working. Him getting into it with Darvin Ham and other players and stuff, it's not gonna be watchable. Also, when he leaves, he doesn't leave with cap space because the Lakers already, have deals into which they are going to be over the cap. They're going to bring back Rui Hachimura, so they're going to have the cap hold on him. The other cap holds from the other 1-year deals that they have, they're not going to be able to be much of a player in the free agency game without some signing trades. And now they haven't traded at least one of their picks. I'm reading the other pick from Sean Charania, where he's mentioning that Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt are a potential part of the 3-team deal to the Lakers, and sources are working through pick protections and additional draft compensation per sources, which I understand that you don't want to go fully unprotected, but F them picks. That is a middle schooler. That 2029 pick, that is a middle schooler. I do not, or whatever. I don't care. Go ahead and get rid of that. Because the thing is this. Everybody focuses on this, and I used to think of it, and I was kind of doom and gloom for a while, and I was doing some more digging into the picks. They do have a first round pick this year. It's just not tradable because it is a pick swap. Which, speaking of the Pelicans, the pick swap not looking too bad. Even if we finish say 11th, what are they in the range to finish 8th or 9th? they're in there like pushing to get up to the 6 seed to not be in the play-in. So they're going to get a pick this year that you can trade the moment that you basically just have to trade, accept the trade of the player, accept the pick of the player, pick whoever the team you want him to go to, and trade him immediately. So he's putting on the hat, so he's technically your guy for like 5 seconds. And then I think if they take the pick this year, then it's like another pick swapped another year. And then there's picks once they get everything resolved with the Pelicans, which I want to say after this year maybe like 1 or 2 more picks. They'll have picks available. It's just as time goes on. Even though I think that it would be imperative to take a young guy, unless it's an amazing trade, take a young guy and develop him. Because they've done great with the Alex Caruso's of the world. Well, he was on a good track until he wasn't. Who Taylor Horton Tuckers of the world. So they've done good in the second round. No telling what you can do late first round. Maybe you can find like a Tyrese Maxey or something like that. But it's something that it's a positive. It's still no guarantee that they make the play in, but it is something that if you get Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell, those are 2 shooters that can help space the floor, which will make other guys who are having career 3-point shooting games, that'll make them better when they play, because you're not worried about Lonnie Walker from the perimeter, but he's a guy, I think he's shooting like 36% from 3 this year. And it's like that's a career high from him. That's 6% up because you're going to shoot a better percentage with LeBron on your team. That's just a fact.
I just find it interesting that they bring in what's his name back to L.A. D'Angelo Russell after the incident he had with Nick Young. That was the thing that kicked him out of L.A. They traded him as soon as that whole incident happened. That dude was gone. So it's a whole different. I think it was Magic who ended up trading Russell away. But that was a whole different regime
Wait,
now.
yeah, Magic and Rob's first deal was getting rid of D'Angelo Russell and bringing
Hmm.
over Brook Lopez. That was their first big move, and that's why like I don't really like it. But it not that I don't not that I'm not saying it's true, but when they did the trade with the Pelicans, one of the reasons that was leaked out there that they kept Kuzma because that was the draft pick that they got from the Nets to take on the contract of Brook Lopez, and we see how he changed his game, and that turned out he's a really good player. They wanted to keep that to be like, hey, that's one of the guys we took, and then eventually just to trade him. And so I will say this: if this move pans out and they're able to do something with this, I'll give Rob Pelinka the props because I got a buddy of mine and he was just killing him, and he was basically actually Lonnie Walker shooting 37% from 3. So it's just like, yeah, that's respectable. That shooting 37 respectable on 5 attempts a game. So yeah, that's pretty respectable.
Yeah,
Where you
he's
have
not
to
chunking
respect
him
him
up
out there.
there.
You know, he not giving you like 10 or something. If he's giving you 10 on 37%, that means he'd be making a lot more. But it's like he's still coming off the bench. So I don't know. It's the Lakers do have their work cut out for him. I'm kind of glad AD. I hope AD doesn't get added, or if he does get added to the All-Star mix, it's one of those. He makes an appearance, he plays like 5 minutes, and then go sit down and rest. Bubble wrap your body, do what you need to do, and we might need to load manage him on through on out because. But I'll give Rob this. I've been critical. I wanted the 2 first-round picks for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So AD still plays the 4, Turner plays the 5, Turner stretches the floor, AD can play in the post or switch it. And then I wanted Buddy Hield for a long time because imagine the 37% Lonnie Walker's making and put Buddy Hield a career like 38 to 40% 3-point shooter. And he's just going to he's going to, like this year, I think he's shooting like 42. Just absolute sniper. And so I think those dreams are done. I'm pretty sure that the pick protections, they probably ended up trading both first round picks. But if I traded both first round picks and I got D'Angelo Russell, who can shoot from the 3, he's shooting 39% this year. If I get Malik Beasley, who's one of the top 3-point makers, 3-point marksmen in the league this year, and I get Jared Vanderbilt, who's a guy that can switch and defend, I get another defender, and I get 2 shooters. Let's go play ball. I mean, now, if Rob Pelinka, if Darvin Ham could stop running out the Dennis Schroeder, Pat Bev, and that 3-guard lineup, if you could say, okay, let's put D'Lo out there,
He trying to
Okay,
do his
put
own
Pat there.
death lineup like the Warriors. I'm like, nah,
Hey,
they're
bro.
not.
Hey, bro.
It's
Go
not the
ahead, and put
same.
Rui and them out there. Put Rui, LeBron, AD, or Thomas Bryant, who's. I hope the Lakers don't get him signed away because he is giving you productive minutes at the backup. And so, man, I know we got a lot. I could go out there about that trade. I see my Lakers Nation. They just went live, so I'm probably gonna get a bunch of information tonight about all the ins and outs of what happened. But speaking of both the Thunder and the Lakers, I wanna start off by saying this, and I saw this on the broadcast as we going to talk about LeBron breaking the record. When I was young, I thought that record was unbreakable. I didn't know, guys were going to be, playing that long into their careers and being that productive that late. I didn't realize that. But what I will say is this: Kareem is getting introduced to a group of fans that may have never known for him other than, hey, who's that guy with all those points I see on 2K? Because when you look on 2K, they set it up to teach you at the game. They show, who's the all-time assist leader for points leader for each team and so on and so forth. And, statistics and all of that. And so I know I'm big into that. So if you wasn't into that in 2K, you just played another mode. You watching this game and this chase, you've learned about Kareem and his greatness. Kareem should have been the only player besides LeBron being talked about right now. Not Kobe, not Jordan. And it's just like, to the Jordan fans, I'm trying to I'm trying to go to sneakers out right now and buy some tools. So it's not like I don't like the shoes. It's not like I don't like the player. Although the shoes more have to do with Nike, the corporation, but that's a talk for another day if you don't get that. Can we just let LeBron have his moment? I mean, this guy had his fourth all-time in assists and number one all-time in points, top 10 in rebounds. The other accolades: 4 MVPs, 4 Finals MVPs, 4 championships, won championships with 3 different teams. So it's like, can we kind of chill on like, well, he's still not. We're not talking about the guy that I want to say didn't Jordan retire in like '03, right before LeBron was drafted. I think that last run with the
Mm-hmm.
Wizards was like, so he retired in the '02-'03 season. That's 20 years ago. Can we? This record has stood for. It was before LeBron was born. It was broken. It was set and it was broken in '84, April of '84. They said
84,
LeBron was born in December of
passing up
'84.
Wilt.
Passing up Wilt. Can we go ahead and just give the guy, like I made a Facebook post? Can we just let him have his moment? Can we let it? Can we just talk about that and not? And then like I see people showing that they're not objective, sharing a post from diehard Bulls fans saying this, and this is why I really wanted to bring this up. They said this: well, when Kareem had 6 MVPs and 6 championships, that didn't make him the GOAT. What makes you think? So you just skipped over everything that this man did just to big up Jordan. You just bypassed all of that. Y'all crap on. Y'all say Jordan did it by himself and just crap on 2 other Hall of Fame players, one other top 50 guy and top 75 guy. You just crap on them. Y'all do whatever y'all can to crap on Jordan. I'm willing to say that some of the Jordan heads, y'all are worse than the Beehive. Y'all are worse than the damn Beehive. And I know we've seen that because she released her tickets and all of that. Y'all are worse than them. But I just want to say salute to LeBron. I'm glad like I said earlier, I'm glad I got over the consternation of, yeah, look, I said, hey, look, man, he passed my guy up. It's cool. It's cool to have a favorite and then see him get passed up. It's cool. It's cool to be like, okay, you saw somebody else push it further. Who's gonna push it further than LeBron?
Yeah,
Is
it
Luka
was
gonna push it further?
interesting. Yeah, when he broke that record, you saw a lot of the Jordan supporters. They was about as they was even more vocal probably than anybody. I'm like, well, damn. I don't know if y'all feel threatened. I mean, this don't. I mean, this not gonna change how y'all may see between the dynamics between LeBron and Jordan. Jordan's place in NBA history is solid. But
Cemented.
you know, LeBron just broke. So to me, the NBA scoring record is the record in professional team sports. It used to be. I put it like this. It used to be MLB's home run record. That used to
Yeah.
be the record. I mean, matter of fact, the MLB home run record was so revered in sports annals. It was like you had the total home run, and then also the single season home run record was viewed as a bigger record than the NBA all-time scoring leader. That's how, as far as how the media was portraying it. That's how big the home run record was. Not only are your all-time home run record, but the single season was also up there. But what happened is that the whole steroid era completely tarnished that record. Matter of fact, okay, we know the total home run record belongs to Barry Bonds, but they don't really acknowledge that at all. And then if you look at the single season, there may be some people out there who say Aaron Judge is a single season home run leader because it's about 6 or 7 entries above him. All of them belong to either Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, or Barry Bonds. So they refuse to acknowledge that. So that record has just been tarnished forever. So now they've been MLB home run has been pushed aside.
Yeah,
Enter NBA scoring record,
and
which is
I hate that for the baseball though. I hate it.
yeah, and they can't. I don't really know what they can really do. I mean, the number is the number, so they're like, okay, man, I guess it's done. You know, they have this much home runs, so they kept the record in their books. But as far as the fan base, many of them just refuse to acknowledge it. But for the NBA scoring record, NBA heads, they respect that record. But because it's held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and a lot of the people today, they don't honestly, and there's no secret, they don't respect what Jabbar did in the league. And a lot of times it's generational. You have, because in today's generation, they believe LeBron is the GOAT. Because a lot of them didn't see Jordan play. When Jordan played, they were saying Jordan is the GOAT. Well, the generation prior to Jordan, it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the GOAT. Now that generation is older now. They older, so they voice is not as loud anymore. The Jordan era voices are still strong, and then now you got the LeBron era voices with the social media
Yeah,
era and all that.
and I'll say this too before we skip it over one. In there, I guess because they get credit for saving the league, you get Magic and Bird, because there are people like I remember I talked to somebody, and for there are certain racial cue words that are put into sports, and one of them is pure.
Mhm.
And when you can't say that LeBron is this and that, you can say from pure basketball standpoint, Larry Bird is a hey bro, he was faster than him, he could jump higher than him, he could do all these things better, but shoot. He cannot shoot better than him. We know this, but he can pass better than him. He's fourth all time in assists. His longevity was better. Yeah, he started his, but and the thing is, well, he came in earlier, but that's also 2 more years of NBA pounding, not college to where you're playing against a future PE teacher or a future doctor or lawyer. No disrespect to those professions, but they athletically can't cause as much of a challenge as. And then the NBA LeBron came into when they showed, they showed those top 20 scores in the league look totally different. I think Kobe was up there with like 24 and a half. T-Mac was the leader his rookie year. Him and Carmelo, who's ninth all time, which I wish he would have got it together so he could still be around in the league for these moments.
Mhm.
I wish, but it just didn't plan out that way. But just seeing the difference with where the league is now to where it is, and the one thing I always say is about the respect factor. I think people don't put enough respect on the fact that today's game, you can say, oh, they don't play any defense. Is it good defense if I'm holding you to 50 possessions versus now they might play what? Let's say they play 75 possessions. I don't know. I'm just throwing a concrete number out there. They play more possessions now, so eventually this is NBA talent. They're gonna give up more buckets. Now, yeah, you got guys, and I hate to keep picking on the guy on his way out. There was a play last night, and they showed the clip. Like Westbrook does too much wandering. Like he's looking And it's like, bro, there's a guy in the corner that's your guy. And you can kind of see LeBron kind of gesture like, hey, and it's like, yeah, his time was done. Like the wandering and the turnovers, the 65% from free throw line, the 30% from three, and the turnovers don't equate for the 6 assists and the 15 points off the bench. It don't
Yeah, he
equal
was
up.
turning the ball
It
a lot
a,
last
a
night.
lot. And that's his Achilles heel besides shooting is his turnovers and his
Mm-hmm.
defense. But excuse me. But like, yeah, man, just seeing the levels, because like my daddy, like the go for him was Magic, and like the things that he gave, the accolades, and his ace in the hole was always the finals game where he started at center, and
Yeah, his
and
rookie
then
season.
changing, yeah, and then basically he crawled, or I won't say he crawled, he took it and ran with it, and then you got the guys like Magic who was the actual forwards and not point guards, and that led to the LeBrons of the world, and now you got the wings handling the ball, or guys that like the kid, he's a point guard, true point guard, the Cade Cunninghams of the world, he's like 6'6", 6'7", he play point.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, you just because your height is there, Magic started that, and it just kept evolving. Just more athletic and not as good, but maybe more athletic. But the guy from the kid from Akron doing what he's done is like you gotta give him props. I'm not. I know some people figure it as like even Dirk said it was just like I keep saying Mike's the best, but like dang, he keeps breaking these records. It's kind of like, and I do think some of it is that the people that don't think he's the GOAT, so the people I'll say 40, 42, 45 and under. I'll say 45 to 45 to 30 to 35. I'll just put it there. 35 to 45. That group may not. Absolutely may not. But for people 30 and under, they may think so because they've seen him play. They've seen him play a lot. And
It's the
there are going to be
generational thing. It's the
yeah,
generational thing
it's
I
a
was talking
total
about.
it's a total generational thing, and it's fine because every generation shouldn't think the same. They want us thinking the same with a lot of stuff, and I think like no, we don't need to conform to that. If you feel like this person is your GOAT, that's fine. Like, cause my thing is, I can acknowledge as many accolades as LeBron will do, and I appreciate him for reviving life back into the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. Because also what he did was, if you want to be a big name, that's great that you can get commercials everywhere. Come to LA. The person that had the record, Laker. The person that broke the record, Laker. The fourth all-time scorer record, Laker. Um, his most notable years in his career, his best years on the top 10 scoring list, Laker. Shaq. Top assists, Laker. Most banners tied with the Celtics. So that is always the cachet card that the bus. That's the only thing they know how to sell. So that was a big deal as far as like that moment in L.A. Jigga was there, LL was there. So hip hop is representative. Other forms of music, Bad Bunny, never heard his song. I know he's a big deal. He was there.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel, Floyd,
Kind of
Usher,
similar for
R&B is there.
Kobe's last game.
Like Kobe, yeah. So it's like, and then like I knew he was gonna break the record. I saw the suit and I was like, oh, he clean. When I saw Bronny and Bryce, I said, yeah. I've never seen them sitting in the game. I was like, where's Savannah? Then I saw, oh, there's Savannah. I was like, yeah. He fully knew I was gonna get it, and he didn't want to make it wait. So he started off a little off, and everybody's trying to get on the ball, and then he just laid it on. And it was a great moment. Everyone's like, why did they stop the game? I was like, bro, this won't happen again for another 50 years.
Yeah, and
You stop the game.
I made a post about that because it's it's the biggest record in professional basketball. The biggest record, and like you say, it was broken way back in '84. So this record has been sitting there, and many believe was untouchable. It's untouchable. And then when it was broken, yeah. So I made a post that 'cause, a lot of people was complaining about the game being paused for as long as it was to celebrate LeBron and his accomplishment. Well, the game was paused back when Emmitt Smith broke the Russian record. And the game was paused back when Barry Bonds, before everything
Yeah.
was revealed, when he broke the home run record. It was
Yeah.
paused when Wayne Gretzky broke the
Yeah.
goal scoring record, and then it was even paused when Ricky Henderson broke the all-time stolen base.
Basically.
So if there's a huge record and it was broken, yes, you're
Yeah.
damn right. They're gonna stop and
And,
pause the game
and
to
that's
give that player some shine.
and that's why I think they put it in there that, with it being a game with two teams fighting to get in the play-in and make the playoffs, if it was in certain situations, they were not going to stop the game. Like if it was in the fourth quarter, key contentious, they were not going to do that for a competitive disadvantage. But it was the end of the third. Perfect time to do it. And I think he knew that to kind of like, hey, let me go ahead and get this. Because as a Laker fan, it will be a good XL to be like, well, okay, that's over. Trade deadline. We know the moves were made. I appreciate them making the moves on a Wednesday. Get them finalized so we're not the most disappointing thing in the world. It happened last year. What are they going to do at the deadline? And then you hear the deadline. They're like, well, maybe they got one of those deals in and it's reported, but it's nothing. Then that's a letdown. Now going into Thursday nights against Giannis. All right, record's over. You know who's not available, who's not here, which it probably should just be Westbrook. Damian Jones didn't play. Takano Anderson, he barely played. All right, they're gone. Come out, win the game. Let's get on a run. You got the defending champs Saturday Night Basketball. Let's get it done. So it means a lot. I respect LeBron. I respect him for what he's done. Um, as far as stature of that, I'm just trying to like remember, like, look, I was able I was able to see the moment in which he broke it. I was able to see him. Hey, came into the league and changed the game and everything like that. But on some of his legacy, something I want to, and I'm battling through trying to make it to the end of the show. One thing I want to mention, and you mentioned it a lot, Shani. You talk about player empowerment. I was watching Bomani's show on ESPN. Yeah, I remember. I
Hmm.
vividly remembered those. Those were in the heart of the 5-11, 5-11, 5-11 years, and those were tough to see. Also, fun fact about that: Brad Sham said this. Like the next play, he lost the yard. So technically, the part where he said "move over, sweetness, make a place for," technically that's what we remember. But he lost the yard on the next play, so he had to get it back a few plays later. But like just the excuse me, the sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's coughing, but from the standpoint of like being a great player and being an ambassador of the game and what your power is able to do, you only have so much leverage. And LeBron always kept his leverage. It wasn't much of empowerment; it was more so a leverage play. And when Bomani broke that down, I was like, "Damn, you got a good point." Because KD just signed a 4-year extension. He ain't got no leverage. They was like, you signed a 4-year deal. Either get paid or don't get paid. We'll holler at you. And so he had that. He had Kyrie. Kyrie waited till he had leverage. But to someone else, they might say, oh, man, these players get what they want. Nah, really. Kyrie wanted to get traded in the summertime. He couldn't do it because he didn't have no leverage. Nobody wanted him. And then everybody was like, I don't want him. He went after the fiasco with the anti-Semitic, confusion and all of that. So LeBron has signed the 1-year deals. He's healthy enough to where it's paid off and he got the money off the court. He swayed the union to go towards the way of the superstars. Like Chris Paul, when he took over and then they made the deal where a player, he was about to turn a certain age, and he made it sure that age was the age where you could still get a multiple year deal besides just a 2-year deal. And it was just like he set the wave as far as that. So you give him credit for that, but he's also somebody that is setting himself up to be an owner. So you give him props for that because he said, hey, I want the all-time scoring record. I want to be an owner. I want to be a billionaire for sports. People laughed at him when he did it, but he put Rich Paul on. He's done all these things, Maverick Carter and everything he's done. So it's like in its totality, you got to give him his credit. He might have some scandals and stuff out there. It does not touch the media. It does not touch about him and Savannah, whatever. He's got 3 wonderful kids. He's trying to get them to play in the league and be there for them. I think as a total, everything he's done, really proud of it. I do know a lot of people give him credit for the social justice stuff. I will say this. I will critique him and say that I wish he would have been louder about Tamir Rice in the city of Cleveland, saying that he had just got back and saying that he needed more information. What more information you need? He's playing with a toy gun. He got gunned down. He's 6 years old. Like that's one where I was like, I wish he had that back. And if you gave him truth serum, he would say, I wish I had that one back. I know he wish he would have it back at certain points of certain things to say. So I give him credit for saying things. Jordan never said anything. I try not to compare him, but
Jordan,
Jordan was
Jordan or
they buy
Kobe.
tennis shoes too. Kobe was not a guy that said it either. Kobe was a guy
They
that
didn't.
walked the
They
line.
just. They
They
like Kevin Durant. Only thing they focus on was basketball.
basketball.
That's it. They
They
don't talk about nothing off the court.
and Mike set that standard to be that way. And the only thing I can say off the court that Jordan did, well, Kobe did. I know he did things on the court that he just didn't mention about, but he didn't speak on social issues. The most public thing I remember, they on 106 in Park, and I know this is taking way back when Katrina happened. I know he publicly like donated a good amount because that was really gut wrenching to see, and I appreciate him doing that. And I know he's done other things,
Yeah, but that's
but
like the.
that's it.
I
That's
think
what I'm
that's like the
saying.
kind of like that's the easy thing to
That's
talk about because you
that's
had
the
like a
extent.
disaster, so a pro
Yeah,
player,
yeah.
want to give back during the disaster recovery. The one like with LeBron
The
and
school.
we haven't seen this since the Kareem days.
Mm-hmm.
When you like social justice or anything, when you make statements that potentially the other half of the country can come at you,
Mm-hmm.
you putting your neck out there.
Yeah,
And with Jordan, Durant, Kobe, they just kept the basketball. So of course I'm pretty sure they had their own opinions of the stuff outside,
yeah.
but with Kobe, with the thing he went through with his
And I
his
think that's a big reason
his
why.
yeah he didn't want to say nothing. He really kept it basketball after that whole
Yeah,
ordeal in Colorado.
because we
It's
saw it
just
back. We saw it backfire on LeBron, and
yeah
when the China situation happened. And my thing with that
yeah
was I never got to speak to someone about that and my feelings on it. My feelings were things have been messed up in my country for over 400 years for my people. I'm sorry if I want to get things for my people fixed first before I go around the world and getting things. Because the one thing I do despise of from rich Americans, and I know we rapping. Well, we forced to wrap up because I don't think my voice can make it much longer. But the giving out to, around the world when you can look here and we're a first world country, but there are some neighborhoods and from like the south, like Alabama. I think it's called Loudoun County, Alabama. They're living in conditions where it's barely livable. Don't have clean water. We saw what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi. We've seen different places. We see what happened in Michigan in the Midwest with the water, which we've heard that their water is not even as bad as other places. And we all over the country. We could go on and on. I hate it when they give a bar and it's like you could give here, or you can try to figure out how to advocate for people here, even if it's not you. Help advocate and use your voice for that. So hopefully LeBron took it to one level, and then someone else will take it to another level. Like I hear Jaylen Brown talking, and I was like, I like the way you're talking, brother. I want you to put the team stuff aside. I love the way Jaylen Brown be talking and feeling. It's like, okay, maybe hopefully they don't. Here's this bag over here. If you be a little quieter, I'm hoping they just take their talents and take whatever they get off the court and keep pushing it to a certain level. I hope that's remembered on his legacy too. Don't just say he got it all the way right, but to give him credit for what he did get right and critique him for what he got wrong. Mr. Bennett, bro, man, perfect timing, huh?
What's up, Mister? Matter of fact, since you joined, I wanted to call up that the comments that you made when I was bringing up the other accomplishments and how they was pausing the game. I believe majority of those accomplishments, their respective teams went on and lost that game. Just like how the
Right,
Lakers
right.
did
That's
last
why
night.
I've never been
You
a
had Emmett,
fan.
Gretzky,
Yeah,
and Bonds. They all lost,
Okay.
and I think
I've
Henderson
never been a
won.
fan of. I would never bet on the home team if it's either you're gonna break a record or they're gonna honor you before the game, or it's like the guys
Yeah,
retiring. Anything, because I'm also a Yankees fan, and like lately it's been they're all about the records and having older players who are going to break records and whatnot so they can get the celebrations. But it never results in a positive outcome in terms of the season. So I
and
never, so I never,
I
yeah,
understood just like that with the whole on a lesser note with the James Harden and the MVP whole thing when he was during his prime with the Rockets when it looked like the Rockets fans was more crying about MVP and
right.
the lack of the awards. I'm like, man, I don't care about that because it looking like, man, you so focused on this MVP, it's not leading to uh end of season victory. That's what I'm looking at. So I
Right,
guess
right,
it's the
right.
same thing with the Yankees or whatnot.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But a great combo tonight, especially when you were talking about baseball and home run record, because when Hank Aaron had that home run record for almost 40 years, over 40 years, but no one ever considered him the greatest player ever. It was always Ruth, Mantle, Mays,
Exactly.
in that kind of order. He might have been top 10, but no, and the thing about it too was I don't think he ever broke a home run single season record.
Mm-mm.
Like he was just consistent. He would average like 40 a year for that period of time, but he never
Longevity,
led the
definitely.
league in home runs or anything. He didn't win the Triple Crowns. So it was like he might be the closest thing to LeBron in terms of, making that kind of record, having that kind of longevity, overcoming what he had to overcome, because he had it rough, especially that year when he broke the record, all the racism and things that came out against him when he was trying to get the record. And he still tried to, he had to endure that to get the record. So he might be our modern day Hank Aaron, just in the way he's going to bat it. You never heard any scandals, about him. I mean, Jordan ran into trouble with, stuff with his father
Hmm.
and the gambling stuff. He had to leave the game for a year and come back. But LeBron, it's like you can't really ask for another uh, 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 model, if you will. Like, look, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, his marital life or whatever. But look, the guy
Married his high
looks
school
like he has
sweetheart.
the image. He's been happily married all this time. He's got his
Hmm.
wife, his kids. It's like, it's perfect. The way he takes care of his body. I mean, the thing they talk about Jordan was, I mean, if he would have took better care of himself, he might have had a better career. But he loved his cigars, and he loved
Cigar.
his he loved his off the court time too much. But he was certainly an assassin. So it's interesting when you have these, and you would think I'd be the first one to say, just based on my era, I'd say Bird and Magic over everybody. But I can't do that. I mean, every era, you had players who changed the game a certain way. I mean, certainly Bird and Magic saved the league. I mean, they had games, they were playing finals games on tape delay when those guys came in. When those guys came in, that's when all the finals became live. So that took the game to another level. Then the whole Celtic Laker thing, which is why I might even say, I made a comment last night, I might have to give LeBron the GOAT status, because that was the only time I ever in my life wanted the Lakers to win a game, was last night. Because I'm a lifelong Celtic fan. So I never wanted them to ever win. Me rooting for the Lakers ever, you would never get me to say it. But it would have been nice if they could have won the game last night, also to go along with it. Because like you said earlier, guys who you have these honor breaking records and stuff, the team always loses or something like that. So,
Hmm.
but Jordan took the game global. And then LeBron, he brought in just another, like, in terms of ambassador, what I mean? Like in terms of, how to run business, how to, like I say, he was been strategic in
Yeah,
his
that's the
social
amazing
stances or
part.
whatnot, but at least
That's
he
the amazing
spoke.
part.
I remember this brother, Bill Rhoden, he wrote this book called The $40
$40
Million
million
Slave.
slave.
And he was talking
Yes.
about that in terms of how a lot of these athletes, they just made a decision. Look, we're just going to take the money and just shut up and give under the
Yeah.
table or whatever. But LeBron, I remember when the Trayvon situation happened, he came out, he got the whole Heat team to put the
Put his
hoodies
hoodies
on.
on.
That was considered a big deal at the time
Yes.
without him even saying. But that's how muted the players were. So I'm coming out of my dad's generation where you had guys like Ali. You had that session with Kareem and those guys who
Yes.
supported Ali when he was out the sports. So you had that era, and then said 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, they were just muted for some time, and he started to bring back that idea of being able to speak out on issues. So again, not always perfectly, and certainly in a lot of ways he moves. Definitely he's very strategic in terms of how he moves. But I think just as a consequential player, the breadth of what he's had, I think in many ways his career, his significance has been greater than Jordan's. If I want to win a game, if I want to win a final, it's hard to argue 6 for 6. It's hard to argue 6 MVPs, and it's difficult to argue that you never let a game get to a 7th game. I mean, that was the thing when Jordan, when he was on your neck That was it. I mean,
He was on
he wouldn't
he
let
was on
it
your
get
neck.
to he wouldn't let it get to that seventh game, and so I have to give him props for that. So again, if you're talking about for a series or finals or whatever, yeah, I would take Jordan. But for a career, and we talking like his career is over, he's gonna probably end up with like 43,000 points before it's maybe even 45,000 before this thing is even done. And I think he set a standard. Like I said, Jordan didn't take the best care of himself. This guy, it was unheard of when you hear about an athlete spending like $2 million a year on health and fitness and chefs and masseuses. I mean, that was just never heard of. And so I think he definitely changed how guys moved in terms of, the longevity, that you can have in the game. I think he certainly set a standard of that also, very similar to what Tom Brady did with his, TB12, whatever you think about the program. But, now I got all these quarterbacks now thinking, okay, well, I can at least get to 40. I might not want to play at 45 like he did, but
they
playing
say
to
all the
40
time
is
it's a
not out of the
copycat
question.
league.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're going to have this. So again, he's changed, how players, what they put into their bodies, how they take care of themselves. So I think so I think LeBron is arguably one of the most important, just like Ali was important. Now I might be a little bit biased. I mean, there's a lot of things about Muhammad Ali. I don't think he was necessarily
I was thinking the same thing.
the best fighter in terms of just, I mean, when he was younger, like before he got the draft absence and all that, I mean, he was pretty untouchable. But afterwards, you can see his flaws and everything. He wasn't the best that, he looks at, oh man, that's the best or whatever. And a lot of guys he fought were kind of suspect too. But, his relevance to the day,
what he did.
And what he did, yeah. I think LeBron is that guy. I mean, I know you guys in these spaces, you guys basically stick to sports. But again, there's a lot of, this whole space has been created talking about relationships and stuff. You don't hear nothing about LeBron.
Nothing.
I mean,
nothing.
I mean, it's like how Barack and Michelle was. You didn't hear anything about them. You didn't hear anything about those guys also. So it's like, in so many ways, he's a very inspirational guy. Jordan was like, you either loved him or you hated him, or you were disappointed when he broke your heart because he beat your team or something.
It's like he was so great, and it was just the competitor. That's the thing. It was even too when you watch The Last Dance. And I know we got to wrap up. He, he pissed people off. He's home alone. He's alone by himself. Whereas LeBron is just like the feel of playing for him is different. Yeah, he has his agendas and the way he does things. But it is, if you look from the early days, now, it was more of a joy for the most of his career. So I want to say, as I know we're getting ready to sign off, salute to him for that and respect to him for wanting to definitely thank you, Mr. Bennett, helping touching on the other impact of not just the court, because even Kareem mentioned that. Like, we don't have a relationship, but he mentioned that his impact off the court is better. And then I know for me it matters. Top athlete married to a sister. I mean, thank you. Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And speaking of Kareem, I don't know if you guys ever watched, there's an HBO documentary.
Yes.
That was on Kareem that I thought was excellent.
That one was a really good one. I love documentaries because I get from the people's words and from the people around them, not a dramatized or I heard, it's like, oh, they said this. Oh, yeah, well, let me tell you, they missed this part. It's good. I didn't know about the Wilt Chamberlain giving him the suit and just, I mean, everything that I ever heard, I was like, so he couldn't play as a freshman. They wouldn't let him dunk, but he still did all of this at UCLA. And then he went to the league. And that's when I made the decision. I think we miss him on the GOAT conversation. We just I was like, when they named the finals, the MVP award after Jordan, I was like, I know Kareem got 6. But it's cool because he's still outside of the crypto.com arena.
I mean, there's places to be made. I mean, he never won one by himself. I mean, he needed Oscar in Milwaukee to win that one championship.
I have a question about the one in Oscar. Yeah. Was Oscar at the end of his career or was Oscar in his prime?
It's tough to say. You could say he was towards the end of his career, but it's hard. At that time, he was a 6'8" guard. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the idea that, he could be as versatile a player as he was and still, he was like still that missing piece to the puzzle. So he was the player that he needed at the time, but you can't say that, again, after him, he didn't win. again, he was.
Nuh-uh.
I mean, those first few years with the Lakers, they
And
were
Lakers, it was nothing. It was nothing until Magic showed up.
until Magic got there. Exactly.
But
So
only thing I'll say with that is this: we tend to look glowingly on, and I think it's because all of us, most of us go to work and work for someone else. We find it okay when Magic and Kareem get, oh, here's James Worthy, oh, here's Michael Thompson, oh, but when LeBron sets it up, it's a problem. And I think that's another way he changed the game, to be like, hey, why can't I go when we go in and trying to have the Redeem Team in 08? Because I watched that Redeem Team documentary and I forgot, like, they blew this, and that's that's another reason I don't like Larry Brown, but that's another reason. That's he annoys me the way people anoint him as a coach. But yeah, man, it's one of those deals to where he set things and changed things in a lot of different ways, from how your attitude has to be, how your leadership. Like, we only knew Jordan was the leadership standard, tough, mean. Like, yeah, everyone didn't like Kobe and his leadership. He was that kind of guy, but he changed as he got older. LeBron was like, hey, we're gonna be different. Now, I do think LeBron brought in the passive aggressiveness kind of deal that we saw that kind of destroyed Brooklyn, but that's something that you as your own have to change. And that's the one thing that I'll say is when LeBron said, give me my down respect, stop trying to say that like Kevin Durant is better than y'all. Mm-hmm. And I told my little brother this. Ever since he opened his eyes and played basketball, Kevin Durant has never been a better basketball player than LeBron James. And I was like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because he's still a top 75 guy. He's still a two-time Finals MVP, one-time MVP, and LeBron's probably playing. And the Achilles tear is the reason why KD won't break his record. Mm-hmm. Those are the two things. But I know we got to get out.
Appreciate the conversation, guys. This is good. It was good.
I appreciate you again.
Hopefully next week you guys will be talking about the pending game, and certainly I will look forward to coming on and discussing picks and strategies and all that good stuff with you guys.
I'm gonna make this promise to y'all. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go and do the full show, but I'm definitely gonna pop in because I know, man. Shout out to my guy. Dre. I know Dre.
He's gonna be unhinged.
He's gonna be here unhinged one way or the other. Shout out to my brother for always supporting. And I know I'm gonna come through because I know I'm getting ready to take my anniversary trip.
Oh,
and so we're leaving. Thank you, 5 years. So we're leaving on Thursday morning. And so, I'm ready to go relax.
Well, then you better rest up. Then you better get your throat right and all that stuff. I don't want you. You can't fly, so you better get some tea.
Don't worry about it.
I took some tea to make the show, so I'm about to go make some more tea. I know I got to
get some echinacea, some stuff to boost your immune system up. Some vitamin C, echinacea, and garlic. That's my triple cocktail. Right? Echinacea, garlic, and extra vitamin C, and mix that together, man.
Okay. Well, with that said, man, this is One-on-One Sports Show. I appreciate y'all for checking us out, Mr. Bennett. Great,
yes, sir.
It's, conversation that elevates it as always. So we are out, man.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Peace, y'all.